Om Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyan Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahirivodbhutai Yatha Nidraya Yasakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Bijasyantarivangkuro Jagadidam Prangnirvikalpam Punaha Maya Kalpita Deshakalakalana Vaichitra Chitri Kritam Maya Viva Vijrumbhayatyapi Mahayogi Vayasvechaya Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. So welcome to all of you in this independent retreat. And during these 3 days, we'll be taking the few verses from a text called Atma Bodha. Atma Bodha is a Vedantic treatise written by Shankaracharya ji. It's in a verse form. And there are 68 verses. Very popular Vedantic treatise, like Vivek Chudamani, Parokshanubhuti, etc. And this textbook is treated as an introductory Vedantic manual by several acharyas because of certain favorable features. The very first feature of this text is it covers all important Vedantic topics in a very comprehensive manner. Vivek Chudamani, more than 500 verses. Here 68 verses. So in a very comprehensive manner, it covers all the topics. Second is, for every topic dealt here, there is an example which you don't find everywhere. It's the second important feature. So we can easily assimilate. The principle of the Vedanta, we can easily assimilate if the example is given right there. So every verse has an example. We can understand, assimilate. Then the third thing is, it is in a verse form and in a very simple language. And therefore, unlike most of other texts, Vivek Chudamani, of course, in a verse form. Parokshanubhuti also in verse form, but terse compared to this. Here, very simple. If you read these verses which have been given to you in a booklet, this handout, if you see, the very simple in Sanskritam. So you can by heart verses if one wants. And thereby you can remember all Vedantic principles along with the examples. Whole Vedanta will not be there. It's here. Many people, many acharyas have by hearted this. Atma Bodha. All 68 verses. Possible because simple Sanskritam. So these are the important features for which, because of that, it is considered as an introductory Vedantic manual by several acharyas. But even though this Atma Bodha is considered an introductory manual, but still Tattva Bodha is taken as a primary text. If it is introductory manual instead of a Tattvabodha, why can't a Acharya teach directly at Atma Bodha? That could be the question. No. There are two reasons in that. The first reason is because some of the topics dealt here in Atma Bodha, well, are slightly advanced. And which is for a beginner, he or she may find it a little difficult. And therefore, those kind of topics are carefully avoided in Tattvabodha. So Tattvabodha definitely works as a primary textbook to get an introduction of the Vedanta. The second thing is in Tattvabodha, all the topics have been, topics are systematically arranged. Ultimately, Vedanta talks about self-knowledge. But before talking about self-knowledge, whether one is qualified or not, that is to be talked. Then what are the qualifications? So Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti is the first topic. Viveka, Vairagya, etc. Everything is defined also. What is Viveka? Nityanityastu Viveka, Iha Mutrartha Phalabhoga Viragaha, etc. etc. Mano Nigraha Shamaha. So, systematically. First, Jnana Yogyata, qualification. And then the individual is analyzed. Who is this individual? Then Ishvara is analyzed. Then there is an identity between an individual and Ishvara. And what will be the result of this knowledge? That also has been talked, lastly. So all the topics are very systematically arranged. And even within one topic, let's say the analysis of the individual. Now analysis of the individual will be seeing. One takes oneself to be a body, mind, sense complex. So then what is gross body? So under the analysis of an individual, now one takes oneself to be a gross body. Then what is gross body? What is subtle body? What is causal body? All are defined. Anyway, and so, and afterwards, of course, who is Ishvara? And then definitely Brahman plus Maya, etc. So Maya, etc. is defined. So this all, my point is, everything is systematically arranged in a Tattvabodha. So for a beginner, it would be an easy. In Atma Bodha, in a one line. The first verse itself talks about Anubandha Chatushtaya and also the qualification. That's it. And of course, Sthula Sharira, etc. has been defined here, but in a very, very brief manner. And therefore, compared to Atma Bodha, Tattvabodha, it really serves as a primary book. So in Atma Bodha, you don't find these well-demarcated things. Tattvabodha has an advantage over Atma Bodha because progressively the topics are developed and advanced topics are carefully avoided. And therefore, one should study Atma Bodha after studying Tattvabodha. This is the thing. Anyway, now actually we have completed first 5 verses in a memorial camp. And so even if I dwell upon then the whole class, then nothing could. So I will just say in one line. And fortunately, Swamiji is taking that topic also. So in the first 5 verses, Acharya talks about 2 things. First is a Jnana Yogyata. What are the qualifications required here? And Acharya says very beautifully, one should have a religious life. A life centered on Ishvara will definitely give you certain samatvam, equanimity of the mind. And when there is equanimity of the mind, well, definitely to receive the knowledge is possible. If equanimity is there after reception, retention is possible. If equanimity is there after reception, retention, assimilation is possible. And therefore, so this is one of the topics in first 5 verses. Second topic is this moksha, the freedom, is nothing other than the removal of the self-ignorance. The self happens to be the free. One doesn't know, and therefore one takes oneself to be bound, and therefore if self-ignorance is removed, one becomes free from the bondage, samsara, etc. So jnanam alone, self-knowledge, is required for moksha. But this is not, the students sometimes do not easily get convinced with this. That just by sitting on a chair and studying, one gains a goal of the life which every human being is searching every moment. One wants to be limitless, that's it. In any area, one never wants any limitation. One never wants any dependence. Human heart is seeking basically freedom from limitation, that's it. It may be a limitation of a time, a place, or a limitation in terms of an object. You have certain attributes and you want to definitely gain more and more attributes, whatever. But ultimately, one wants to be limitless. In one's experience, one is limitless. That's what it is, a deep sleep state reveals. You are very much there without any limit. You don't have any height, you don't have any weight, you don't have any breadth, length, you don't have anything horizontal. I is very much there without any dimension. And so once you know your height, you can't settle for anything less than that. In a moment of joy also, one is definitely having that sense of fullness, no limitation. A sense of limitation centered on oneself and the joy cannot go together. And therefore, experientially, I do experience this freedom from limitation, but I don't know. Knowledge-wise, I'm lacking. And therefore, basically, person will not get easily convinced that just by sitting and studying one gains the goal of the life which every human being is searching. And therefore, until that conviction comes, you will never focus on knowledge. They say the value of the knowledge is directly proportional to the conviction that sheer ignorance, is the cause of all problems, all issues. In spite of having everything in my life which I desired, the problems and suffering of the human being has not gone. And that goes just by study. So that conviction takes time, very much. And therefore, even though in the first 5 verses, Shankaracharya ji did talk about that knowledge alone is required to gain moksha, he has compassion, he is free. But definitely, due to compassion, he make him work further for the student. So in verse 6 to 14, definitely he shows how ignorance is a cause of the suffering in human life. And this conviction is very much essential. Like, we can take an example. Everyone knows the benefit of an exercise. Anywhere you go, you talk to a friend, you talk to, you go to the media, or you open up any magazine, they will show you the benefits of the exercise. So you know the benefits of exercise, but you don't do exercise because conviction is not there. But some problem occurs, heart problem, sugar problem, that problem, cholesterol problem, some problem, blood pressure, this, that. Then you realize the importance. Then you start doing. Same way, so that's how Shankaracharya ji feels that let me little elaborate further how ignorance alone is the cause for the suffering in human life. There is no other cause. And ignorance means ignorance pertaining to the self. And then the person will definitely commit himself or herself to the knowledge of self. So for that purpose, these 6 to 14 verses are there. Now, before going to verse, I would like to give you a whole picture of how ignorance is the cause of a human suffering, samsara, etc. Well, we'll start with this. Please pay attention. Who or what is responsible for ignorance? Well, ultimately you will have to say Maya. Maya is, I will explain you, don't worry. So, Maya is responsible for this self-ignorance, etc. Maya leading to ignorance, and then ignorance leading to samsara, etc. Now, when you bring the Maya, then definitely you have to bring creation. You have to bring Ishvara, right? So all these topics are there. So, creation, Maya, ignorance, and lastly samsara. These are the 4 topics. And I am dwelling on each topic in short. So, first is a creation. What is creation? Creation can be defined as the production of an effect or a product from a cause. That's called creation. So when an effect is produced basically out of a cause, what happens exactly? That is the thing. So what is the mechanism actually? The words the cause and effect and all these things are normally we use very loosely. So let us take an example, our standard example. A potter, well, definitely making a variety of the earthenware, like pot and jug and etc., lid and etc., out of a lump of a clay. Now, clay is said to be the cause, and the varieties of the earthenware are said to be the effect. So we make this statement: potter has produced or created, or made many pots. We make this statement. Now, when we say that the potter created this earthenware, we should ask a question: what potter has created? Did the potter create the clay? Or did the potter create something else? Now, definitely we know very well that potter has not produced or created an ounce of even clay. And in fact, nobody can create a matter. That's how even scientists also say. Matter cannot be created. Anyway, or destroyed also. So the potter has not produced even an ounce of matter, clay. So he has not produced any substance. I am using different words because I have to use it later also. He has not produced substance for the pot. So previously also there was a clay. Now also, there is a clay alone. So then why do we say potter has created a pot? Pot means definitely clay also there. So then why do we say like this, that potter has created a pot? Well, then we come to know that potter has given a shape to the already existing clay, which is called creation of pot. Right? That's called creation of the pot. So potter cannot and does not produce anything, and all his efforts basically are to add the shape to the wet clay. So before shaping, there was a clay, and after shaping also there is only clay. Please keep this thing in mind. Ultimately, it will come up to the self. So before also giving a shape, adding a shape to the clay, there was a clay. Giving a shape to the clay, there was a clay, and now also there is a clay. Before the shaping, it is called clay, and when the shape is given, the very same clay is given a new name, pot. shape is equal to rupam in Sanskritam. Name means nama. So, we have to say now, what has Potter done? Suppose if somebody asks, well, he has not produced anything. He has given a rupam shape, and in keeping with the shape, a new name has been given. It may be a pot, lead, anything. So addition of varieties of the names and forms is called creation to already existing substance. So not a production of a substance. Addition of a configuration of a substance is called creation. Cause plus addition of a name and form is called effect. So clay plus nama rupa is equal to earthenware, clay world. And gold plus name and form is equal to ornaments. Wood plus name and form, addition of name and forms is furniture. And like that, cause plus addition of name and form is called production of an effect, creation. This is lesson number 1. So Potter has added. Lesson number 1 is Potter has not created the substance. Potter has added name and form. Name also might have given, and form, shape. Potter has added name and form to already existing substance. That's called creation of earthenware. This is lesson number 1. Lesson number 2. For that, we should ask a question. From where does, if Potter is adding name and form, shape, let us say, then from where does the potter get shape? Because he is adding. He sits with an empty hand. So he is getting shape from somewhere else and then adding to the clay. So, where does the potter bring the shape from? That's the second question we'll answer. That's the second lesson. Shape is not added by the potter. This is Vedanta. This is Vedanta. Shape is not added. Earlier we said shape is added. Now we say shape also is not added by the potter. All shapes are already present in that clay well itself. The spherical clay well has all the geometrical shapes in potential form. So spherical shape is nothing but all the shapes in unmanifest form. So clay contains all the names and forms of earthenware in a potential form. Potential condition. In Sanskritam we have a name for this. Avyakta nama rupani. Avyaktam, potential, unmanifest. The clay itself has that. No shape comes from anywhere else. It is right there. So potter does not do anything to the substance, clay, but only brings the unmanifest names and forms, unmanifest earthenware, unmanifest pot into manifestation. That's it. So, definitely nothing is produced including the name and form. Name and form also is not produced, not added, which was very much there, only brought to the manifestation. So substance plus this unmanifest name and form is called the cause. And the same substance plus the manifest name and form is called effect. Right? So what is the benefit of the efforts of the potter? Well, definitely it has neither created the clay, nor he has created name and form also. He has only changed the unmanifest name and form into manifest name and form. And so this name and form transformation from unmanifest to the manifestation is called creation. It's called creation. So creation basically, now second lesson. Creation is a manifestation of name and form upon the substance. This name and form is non-separate from the substance. Any creation is basically name and form plus substance. Name and form is not an independent entity. It's not an independent entity. Such an entity which does not have independent existence, which is available for transaction. Pot is available for transaction, lead is available for transaction. That's how Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says Nama, Rupa, Karma also. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, just not name and form. Karma. Karma means a purpose. It has its function. An orientation of the people is anything which is useful is Satyam. In Vedanta, when you open the book, anything which is useful is Mithya. Clay is Satyam. The shape given to the clay, right, which was very much then in unmanifest condition, and now it is manifest. It is non-separate from the substance. That is Mithya. It doesn't have independent existence. Clay has independent existence. So pot is actually a mixture of Satyam plus Mithya. Substance, Satyam. Name and form, Mithya. Now to such a pot, one doctor fits a human mind into that. Suppose you have to imagine all these things, certain stories. Yeah. A human mind is fit. Why human mind? Self-conscious. Self-conscious endowed with self-ignorance also. Being self-conscious, there will be self-judgment, but self-ignorant, therefore, wrong judgment. And such a pot tells that I am pot. What should it say? Please tell me. What's the reality of it? I am clay. Identifying with this particular name and form. The clay itself tells. Identifying with particular name and form, the clay itself tells I am pot. What is really Mithya? He unites with the Mithyamsha rather than claiming I am just a clay. Samsara starts. When you say I am pot, you are too limited. If you say I am clay, oh, you are all pervading. All issues will come. All issues. I am small. This other part is big. I am ugly. He is smart or beautiful, whatever. She is smart, whatever. Beautiful. All issues will come. Samsara comes due to self-ignorance on the part of pot or clay. Under the ignorance, clay claims to be oneself as a pot, which is really it is not. It's a non-substantial thing, name and form, which does not even have an iota of an existence independently. It's just an appearance, right? It is just an appearance. Manifestation, appearance. Suffers. Taking non-substantial thing as oneself and suffers. False identification, suffers, etc. So this is lesson number 2, that how the ignorance can lead to samsara. This is regarding earthenware and everything. Come to our universe now. Their clay world, here it is our world. Same thing. Same issue. Universe also must be what now? Like earthenware, clay world means what? Clay substance plus names and forms. This universe also means some basic substance plus names and forms. And so, if the universe is a created substance, a product, effect, then it also must be a substance with a manifest names and forms. Before the production of universe, the basic substance must have existed with what? unmanifest name and forms. Right? Like before the production of the earthenware, what was there? The basic substance, clay, with unmanifest earthenware. Unmanifest names and forms. Same way here also. Same thing. Before this whole creation came, what was there? The basic substance plus unmanifest names and forms. So universe in this current condition is one basic substance with infinite names and forms. The basic substance cannot be created. And well, what is that basic substance? Well, Moola Vastu. What is the essence, you can say? Earthenware, what is the essence? Clay. That's the basic substance. What is the basic substance in this creation? In all these infinite names and forms? Well, what is the truth? What is the essence of the universe? Vedanta calls this basic substance as a Brahman. The consciousness, limitless consciousness. Well, and like from the, just as the clay is a basic substance, from the standpoint of earthenware, same way from the standpoint of the whole creation, including these five elements and time and space and everything, well, basic substance is Brahman. We'll see that, don't worry. The consciousness, limitless consciousness is the basic substance, and well, that is, the nature of it is called Satchidananda. Generally people ask this question, what is consciousness? This is a question. What is consciousness? Consciousness is a word which is generally qualified. When you are seeing Swami, you have a Swami consciousness. When you are hearing something, you have a word meaning consciousness, right? When you are tasting something, you have a taste consciousness. When you are touching something, hot, suppose, hot touch consciousness. When you are touching something cold, cold touch consciousness. When you are smelling something, some kind of some rose or some jasmine. So jasmine fragrance consciousness. Consciousness is generally a qualified word. Now let us do one exercise. I'll utter a few words and you see the meaning of it in your mind. Suppose I say pot. Immediately meaning occurs in your mind. Some object. Car. Chair. Watch. Consciousness. No object appears. When I utter a word, the object appears in your mind, that's called the meaning of the word. If I say consciousness, nothing appears. No object appears, no meaning appears. Therefore, consciousness is a meaningless word. I'm sure you will not accept it. That's the beauty. Even though I utter the word consciousness, you are not able to objectify it, but you know it has a meaning. So table consciousness, body consciousness, body height consciousness, body weight consciousness, body color consciousness. Consciousness is invariably present with all names and forms. I think you are able to understand now. When I say table consciousness, what is the meaning? Consciousness plus an object table, which is an object of consciousness. Swami consciousness means consciousness plus Swami, the object of your seeing. Object of consciousness. Without consciousness, very stable. If you are not conscious of the table, very stable. Table is, when you say, already pervaded by consciousness. If you say, no, Swamiji, table is there, pervaded by consciousness. Could you follow? Therefore, basically, when you say table consciousness, consciousness plus table, object table, Well, there is no table without you being conscious of the table. So the whole names and forms exist in consciousness. Clear? And when I just say word consciousness, you are not able to see the object. Means consciousness is not an object. If consciousness is not an object and yet consciousness word is a very meaningful word, and the meaning is not any object, then what is the meaning? Subject. So you pervade all the names and forms and lend existence to everything. And the moment you say consciousness a height, consciousness has become an object. Therefore, consciousness has no height, no length, no breadth, no vertical, no horizontal. No, Swamiji, consciousness is horizontalism. Means you have objectified it. Consciousness is spatially limitless. When there is no dimension you can talk about of consciousness, I the consciousness, now I can say very well, you are consciousness, I the consciousness is spatially limitless. Spatially limitless in terms of space. Means consciousness I is not located in space. Consciousness is not located in time. Time is located in consciousness. In absence of time, consciousness exists. That's our experience also in deep sleep state. In absence of space and time, if consciousness exists, means space and time dimensions cannot limit them. Otherwise, in absence of space, consciousness cannot remain. But if space is absent yet consciousness is present, that shows consciousness is space and time-wise limitless. That is called Anantam, Brahman. And while time doesn't limit it, so you can call it Sat. Consciousness means Chit, and limitless Ananda. There is no difference between limitlessness and this Ananda. Anantam eva Anandam. And therefore, that is the basic substance of the whole creation. Now, clear? So, this is the basic substance of the whole creation, in which all the names and forms exist. Anyway, so what is universe? Means Brahman plus manifest name and form. Before the creation, Brahman must have been present with the unmanifest names and forms. And Brahman plus unmanifest name and form is the cause. Brahman plus manifest names and form is called effect, universe. The technical name for the unmanifest names and forms, which is located in Brahman, is called Maya. Unmanifest names and forms, which exist in Brahman, is called Maya. So Brahman plus unmanifest name and form is the cause, means Brahman plus Maya, which is called Ishvara, is the cause of the universe. So to differentiate between these two, we give two different names. Brahman plus unmanifest name and form, the cause, and Brahman plus manifest name and form, the effect. We have two distinct names. Brahman plus unmanifest names and forms means Brahman plus Maya is called Ishvara, the cause. And Brahman plus manifest name and form, we give another name called Jagat, universe. Or you can call Virat, either. Anyway, so this is how, and so all the, the Brahman, he was present before the manifestation of all the names and forms, before the Jagat came. And Brahman is right now also present because it is the basic substance. It is right now present also when the universe is manifest. So Brahman continues to be present all the time without having any transformation like that clay. Before manifestation in unmanifest names and forms were there, well, clay was clay. And after manifestation in form of pot, etc., well, also still it is clay. No, Swamiji, but they heat it. Well, now you take the example without heating, okay? So that's how you should take. Because I know after that question will come. We heat it and therefore there is some transformation in clay, etc. Don't take it that way. But so if you make various names and forms out of that, definitely you can appreciate this. So during Srishti, Sthiti and this Pralaya, Brahman remains Brahman. Srishti means manifestation of names and forms, sustenance of names and forms, and dissolution of names and forms means go to unmanifest condition. Brahman remains Brahman. That's it. And therefore, Brahman continues to be the same always. And Namarupa, that is upon the Brahman, well, goes through this unmanifest manifest condition. Conversion of unmanifest name and form into manifest name and form is called creation. And conversion of manifest names and forms all into unmanifest names and forms is called dissolution. That is what Bhagavan said. Avyaktat vyaktaya sarvaha prabhavanti haragame. Or avyaktadini bhutani prabhavanti haragame. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata, etc., etc. So from avyakta, the unmanifest alone becomes the manifest. The substance remains same. So it cannot be negated. So between Brahman and now various names and forms, manifest names and forms, well, what is Satyam? What is Mithya? Brahman is Satyam. All the names and forms which are non-separate from Brahman, well, they are Mithya. Well, earlier they were in the form of unmanifest condition, therefore Maya also is Mithya. Because Maya is unmanifest names and forms. Now manifestation. Clear? So this is how it is. So there is only Brahman. Okay, now next. This Maya, which is nothing but unmanifest names and forms and located in Brahman, is also known as, by the name, called Brahma Shakti. Shakti, power. This Maya is known by the name Shakti. Any Shakti or power cannot exist, well, definitely independently. It has to exist in some substance. For example, the speaking power, which I right now have, cannot exist separately from the person, this conscious being. So Maya Shakti also rests in Brahman, depending upon the Brahman for its existence. And this Maya Shakti has two powers. Now that's how I have brought Shakti. It has twofold power. One is called Vikshepa Shakti. So Vikshepa Shakti means the power to throw, power to manifest. Kship dhatu is there in sixth conjugation, to throw. So Vikshepa means it throws out. Well, it projects, it brings out, it manifests. So basically, the power that converts the unmanifest into the manifestation, that kind of a power Maya has, which is called Vikshepa Shakti. And the manifestation of the universe, well, is in the hands of Vikshepa Shakti of Maya, which rests on Brahman. And well, the second power is Avarana Shakti. Well, that power of covering or veiling the truth. First, the Vikshepa Shakti of the Ishvara starts functioning. Ishvara, because Brahman is very much there as a substance. And therefore, first this, the Vikshepa Shakti, while projecting power of Ishvara starts functioning at the time of creation. Ishvara is not affected by the Avarana Shakti and of the Maya. And when the Vikshepa Shakti is operating, all the unmanifest names and forms, well, gets manifestation. Entire universe and all the individual jivas also, which were unmanifest also, definitely are thrown out as though they are manifested. They got various bodies, etc. And once these jivas and this jagat, well, come into manifestation, then Avarana Shakti of Maya starts operating. This is a way of presentation. Don't really think that this is now, so it is going, now. This is a way, it's a model to explain. Really don't think such a phenomena is occurring at the time of creation, etc. Anyway, so once the jiva and this jagat come into the manifestation, Avarana Shakti, well, of the Maya becomes active, and it definitely covers Jiva. So Jiva will not know their own real nature, that I am Brahman. Just as that pot. Could you follow? So, because they have got the names and forms, bodies, manifestation. So, but Jiva doesn't know that I'm basically Brahman. And therefore, due to this Avarana Shakti, otherwise called ignorance, will start operating. Because of that, Jiva doesn't know himself, herself, that I am Brahman, identifies with the name and form called body, mind, sense complex, and behaves as that they are individuals, jivas. And that same Avarana Shakti covers the Jagat also. Therefore, Jiva doesn't know that Jagat also basically is simply names and forms. The substance is Brahman alone. And therefore, Jiva takes Jagat as a Jagat. Jiva takes oneself as Jiva. And the game of duality has started. Because he says, I am Jiva, confined to one body, mind, sense complex. This Jagat is very vast, which is non-I. So duality. What is non-I is so big. What is I is very insignificant. Very insignificant. What is non-I is so big. So this duality creates the fear. Dvaitadhi bhayam bhavati. First, lakshana of samsara. And otherwise also you take yourself as a body, mind, sense complex. You take yourself as a karta, identifying with the body, mind, sense complex, and suffer from the guilt. Why did not I do this? And why did I do this? And etc. etc. Takes yourself as an experiencer, bhokta, and suffers. Have a sense of a hurt also. Pramata, knower. And you take yourself as, definitely you are Brahman, but you take yourself as a body, mind, sense complex, then you will have a sense of limitation. That is samsara. Sense of limitation. Uneasiness all the time. You are not acceptable to yourself. Because in your eyes, you are a very limited being, which is really not. And what you really, basically, which is not your really nature. And therefore, you all the time get rid of this sense of limitation. Ishvara provides certain situation by which you become free from the identification with the body, mind, sense complex, and you become one with this Brahman in deep sleep state, etc., or in a moment of joy, where you drop the sense of smallness, time being. Time being, you drop the sense of smallness, centered on I. So that's a moment of joy for you. And this is how the whole, and then everything comes, which we will be seeing, raga dveshadi sankulaha. So this world is called samsara. World is samsara for whom? For this jiva. If you take yourself as a jiva, definitely world is a samsara. Why? Because once you identify with body, mind, sense complex, what is favorable to this body, you will like. What is favorable to your mind, you will like. What is unfavorable to your body, mind, sense complex, you will dislike. Raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, everything comes. So samsara swapna tulyo hi raga, dveshadi sankula. That's what he is going to start. So this is how the whole samsara comes, because of ignorance of oneself, which we call as a avarana shakti, veiling power of a maya, basically. So he doesn't know himself, much less he knows the Jagat. Both are one substance alone. All the names and forms are mithya. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. This is how it is. And therefore he should know I am Brahman. If he say I am Brahman, he says everything is me. Because substance is one alone. If pot has said I am clay, he would have said all earthenware are me. He said I am pot. Then the fight. From duality. This is samsara. Is it okay? Now shall we stop here or should I go further? It is enough, Swamiji. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.